In today's video, let's have some fun with mixed media using distress inks, sprays, and spritz. Hi, I'm Stacy. I hope you enjoy and are inspired to create. Let's get started. I'm going to be going over the products we're using today. I'm using Canson XL watercolor paper. I'm going to be using Distress ink and Distress Oxide ink. I'm going to be using Distress Oxide sprays. And I'm going to also be using Distress Spritz sprays. I am using some Hero wax, I believe in white and gold. And a Hero Art Sentiment stamp set. It's called Hand Drawn Everyday Messages. And then I'm going to be using some MFT dies. This, I believe, is Fancy Leaves. And then we have Fancy Outline Leaves. Or I just said that in reverse. And then we're also going to be using this butterfly die. This is an oldie but a goodie. I'm sure there's others out there. I don't even know if this is available anymore, but I wanted to show you in case you have it in your stash or if you want to see if you can find it. I started out by die cutting a bunch of these solid leaves from the watercolor cardstock. And then I'm going to take them and I'm going to double them up. And I saw this technique on Lou Collins' YouTube channel, and I will link her channel down below, and I'll try to find the video of that she did sharing this. So this was not my idea. I'm new to mixed media, and I have been having a lot of fun experimenting and trying new mediums, trying new techniques and different styles. So the one thing I could say is I'm trying not to get glue when I'm taking my fingers. I'm trying not to get glue on that top layer because I'm not sure if it would create a barrier for the inks and sprays that we're going to be putting on here. And then I'm just using a big acrylic block to weight it down. And then I laid them out in a pattern that I wanted. And this took forever, guys. I was like, with the curve in these die cuts only going one way, it makes it a little more difficult. And I wanted something that was semi-symmetrical, but covered most of the background. And I'm going to be using a die for a sentiment there towards the center. So I kept pulling that in to measure it out. And then I just glue these down. And then I'm going to weight it with an acrylic block. The one tip I can give that I didn't do was let it dry. I mean, that glue I thought was dry, but when you're adding all these sprays and inks and water, the glue needs to be dried. So I would have left it, I don't know, at least 30 minutes. I literally probably started up again within 5 minutes, if that. I cleaned up and then I started creating with it with the sprays. And here's the different Distress Oxide sprays I'm going to be using. And I just take them, I make sure you shake them up really well so that you get all that oxide pigment in there mixed up with the rest of the dye ink. And I just spray, and then I'm taking some water and spraying that and layering it up. And then I'll dry it in between certain layers. And I'm just trying to get a look. And it's really interesting to see each time I've used these sprays or inks how different the looks can be with same colors, or even you'll watch this evolve, and I will try to give you some tips for that'll help because I probably did more layers, and I probably could have got similar results without going back and forth. But I think that's part of the fun of mixed media is you can keep going and it'll keep changing, and it's okay. But I know that for me, I don't mind sitting down and spending time, hours on a card. I mean, but not everybody has that. So I will kind of try to explain to you where I think I could have saved some time. Now, here's where it started lifting, and that's because that glue wasn't dry. Once I left this overnight, I got a little bit more lifting, and I think that was because originally it was priority lifting from the water sprays, but not very much. So definitely leave it weighted and leave it to dry for, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour, maybe even overnight. I don't think it has to be overnight, but just make sure that that glue is dry. And then I spritzed it with Distress Spritz, and I'm using some different colors here. And when you're seeing me spray it onto the mat, it's because I want to see how it's going to spray out before I just go directly to the project. And I slowed this down because it did kind of pick up that shimmer, and it's like mica powder, but it's sparkly and fine. It's so pretty. And then I'm taking that hero wax and I put some out on my mat, and then I watered it down and I started painting around the leaves, but I decided that I wanted to kind of just have it kind of like a dry brush, even though that's not technically a dry brush, but a similar look to that. And I just swipe it everywhere, and then I'm drying it. I'll end up drying it, and then I water it down and splatter with it. This wax, I don't think it's like the foundry wax. It just says on the back of it to let it dry. I don't think it necessarily has to be heat set, but I mean, you can see it change there. The thicker it is, it kind of bubbles up and it makes a really pretty texture. Now this is the white wax, and I originally bought this thinking it would be great for snow or white splatters. But it is like a pearl, but it's a bright white pearl. It's not an ivory pearl, but it's really pretty. So I just kind of wanted to go in and touch some areas like a dry brush technique, and so that it brightened it up a tiny bit. It got a little more dark than I wanted it to, and it's going to evolve again. But I really liked those spritz. I mean, in real life, you can see the different depths, the green and blue, more so than you can in the video. And then I brought out some distress inks, and I believe that's black soot, and I just splattered it. And I thought, let's give it a little more texture, try to give it a little bit more depth. And then I'm drying it, and then I brought in walnut stain, because I thought that having walnut stain around those leaves would create some depth. Like when things patina or are handled a lot, how it gets the darkness next to the grooves. That's the look I was going for, so I started going in with the walnut stain, and it wasn't dark enough. It basically dried back and could barely be seen. So then I put the black soot down and mixed the two together and went ahead and did it that way. And then I'm going to come back in because I still wasn't happy with the depth. So if I was to do this again, I'd probably start with, I'm going to come in with a spray in a bit, and I would do that first, then I would do the black soot splatters. And that would probably save some time. And then if I waited till the very end to add the distress spritz instead of as it evolved, that would probably save some time too, instead of doing it and layering it. But I can tell you that each time I did that, they do sink into the background, and there are different layers, and it doesn't show up in video like it does in real life, and it's gorgeous. I mean, there is some depth, so that probably happened because it was layered. And I'm just taking like the nozzle out on sometimes and using the sprayer and just flicking it on there, and then I'll dry it. Other times I'm spraying it. I don't think they move all that much with water like your mica stains or your stress inks. They kind of stay put, but it does, I guess, kind of soften a bit. I noticed that they spread a little bit more, of course, if there's water there. And this is some old spray that I have. The nozzle was clogged, so I flicked it on there, and then when I sprayed it and seen how it settled around the leaves and kind of dulled things out, I was like, that's it. So that's why I would have started with this first, then did the black soot splatters and saved myself the time. But I was trying to use just the distress inks I already had out. And then I remembered I had that spray. And this did lift in a couple of places, and I think it was originally where it had probably started to lift and that I had done the other day. Like I left this and came back to it later, which is kind of cool. I know we can do that with all of our cards and what we make, but it really does just mixed media kind of just sits there and it's okay. And sometimes letting it sit will, you can come back and view it and go, okay, do I want to add to this more or not? But it's very forgiving. And then I, of course, used some distress oxides. I smushed it on an acetate sheet, sprayed some water, and brought it to the die cut. But I probably, you know what I would have done? Did it directly on the mat, or even swiped over that butterfly, because it would have added that pigment, and then did my layers, and it probably would have saved time. I wanted it to get some more depth, and I had created a different one off camera to see if I was going to be able to get a look that I was going for, and I did, but I just didn't want to, because I was experimenting, I didn't want to leave the entire process in there. I wanted to bring it back in here where you guys could see it. And it's interesting because the other one I did has a little bit deeper colors and a little bit different depth with the Spritz, and so it's honestly pretty cool, even with the same inks and colors, just depending on how you apply them, what different looks you get. It's kind of nice because it's makes you give up that control. Like when I color with alcohol markers, I'm very, I want to be detailed, but here you kind of have to give that up. And it's nice because it doesn't take as much thought process. You just kind of spray and smush, and I'm using my finger there to pick up some of the ink and smear it around, and it's just kind of fun. And I just had music going and enjoyed the music and the process. And I took that blueprint sketch because it's darker, and I wanted to give some darker tones in that butterfly so it had some texture. And then I'm going back in with a distress spritz and spraying it. So, are you someone who uses mixed media? Do you like it? Have you branched out into different styles? Maybe you're mixed media, but you decided you want to color, or maybe die cutting you like, and you wanted to color, or maybe you're not, maybe just something different than your norm. Let me know down in the comments. And then I took this and took some embossing ink and put it all over my die cut, and then put clear embossing powder. I did a second layer because I wanted it to be thick, like an enamel embellishment. And then I was heating it up, and I'm shaping the butterfly there. I'm putting the wings up and I'm curving them in, and then I'll show you here a little bit from a side view. See that? So I don't have to bend it. It's going to stay that way. And when I attach it to the card. So this is definitely a card that you're going to have to give in person, or send it in Happy Mail, maybe in a little box or a padded envelope. But I make a lot of cards that I can send out that are flat, but these are fun too. It's just fun to try something different. And then I'm heat embossing this sentiment from that Hero Art stamp set on some black cardstock. I cut it out with a die that was in my stash. I don't know what it is. It's like a little nesting die set I have. I probably got it from a D-stash, probably from Crafty Bean, which she has some going, and she's going to have tons. So if you're interested, go on over to her channel. I'll link it down below. And that thing cut so hot, I pulled out my little hands, my little gripper hands, my helping hands. And then after I heat emboss and I use that anti-static powder tool, it will leave like a haze. So I use a soft eraser to help get rid of that. And that's what I was trying to show you. And then I popped that label up with the sentiment on it on some foam tape, and I wasn't sure if I wanted it. See how it's not centered in the center of the card, but from side to side it is. And because I was putting the butterfly, I wanted it to be even, and I pulled it back up because I liked it in the middle of from side to side, but it's down towards the bottom of hair. And then I'm putting foam tape on the head of the butterfly and just gluing the body with glue. And then I decided I had these little paper flower embellishments, almost like crepe paper, and I thought that would look good. I thought it would go with the teals, blue, green colors with the butterfly and with the spritz in the background. So I took that Hero Arts on a paintbrush and smeared it on some of the petals, and then heated that up. And then this is, I believe, walnut stain, and I'm just brushing that around. Eventually I take the ink cube and flour to each other and speed that up. And then I'm going underneath it a little bit because it does show if you look at the card from the side. And then I'm going to take some Distress Spritz and spray it. And I believe I show the colors, but there are ones that were used within the card. There it is, Uncharted Mariner. That's a pretty color. And this Mowed Lawn is surprising, the color that it comes out. These spritzes are just very pretty. They're such soft sparkles. Like little fine glitter, like super fine. It's so pretty. And here it is. Isn't it pretty? And there's those, I cut those out of vellum, those outlines for the leaves that match the leaves in the background. And I'm trying to show you the shimmer. I mean, it just in the depth, it doesn't show up in video like it does in person. Trust me, it's so pretty in person. Thanks guys for spending some time with me. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.